Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are getting up and feeling well out there this morning and having a great start to your day. Got you a big update this morning on what's going to happen weather-wise for today. I'm expecting a pretty active day as there is a low pressure surface low that is scooting along the base of this trough that is now beginning to become negatively tilted, which means we have a system that is strengthening. So we're going to have strong winds. We're going to have a blizzard on the cold side of it for a pretty small area, but we do have blizzard warnings up for areas of the north central U.S., areas of western Minnesota, and then eastern sections of the Dakotas that we need to talk about. And then we're going to have a very, very small area of the country that's going to have a severe weather threat today. It's going to be quick moving, what we call a cold core setup. It's going to rain for a lot of people. It's raining for a lot of people out there already in the middle of the country. And then, we're just going to try to figure this out. We'll briefly go over the latest information as far as the severe weather parts for the system that's trailing behind it, but we'll dive a little bit deeper into that tonight. Just want to remind you guys that the video will come out a little bit later tonight. I'm doing my first soccer practice with a bunch of 7, 8, 9-year-olds this evening. So definitely asking for prayers for that. As this is kind of my first time doing this, but I know it's going to be a very rewarding thing. And once the first practice is under my belt, I'm sure I'll look back at the last few days and wonder why I was worried or stressed about it at all. I'm sure it's going to be very fun. So I'm looking forward to it, but a little anxious. So certainly asking just for prayers for that. But if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So let's get rolling this morning. Water vapor loop, this is our system right here. This is our first system, surface low scooting right here. A lot of rain out in front of it, a little thin line of storms working its way through North Texas and Oklahoma this morning. Not really any way of any kind of severe weather by any means, but there's a lot of moisture with this, and will become heavy at times. And then as this first push of moisture kind of plows through this area right here, behind it, a sector will develop. Well, a triple point will be met, which means we're going to have some ingredients for a little bit of severe weather for a very short amount of time in this area right here, Missouri, eastern Kansas, places like that. A little bit later this afternoon, we'll talk about that. But blizzard is possible and likely. You're going to have blizzard conditions for a period of time up here in the north central U.S. And speaking of the watches, I mean, this is very bright on the screen, right? That red right there, that is that blizzard warning that I'm talking about. Everybody else in this purple shaded color, that's winter weather advisories. This teal right here is winter storm watches. The pink is winter storm warnings. But this is actually not up, for this first storm system today. What's wild is this area right here that could have severe weather this afternoon or is the same areas that are under winter storm watches. So it's pretty wild to think about. So we'll see what happens with that. But wind advisories stretch basically from the western U.S. all the way up to Michigan. So you're going to have a lot of strong winds throughout the day today. We'll talk about that a little bit. You got high wind watches up also. And that might be high wind warnings. Yeah, that's high wind warnings. You got high wind warnings up in this mustard color. Always weird. I always would think that this would be high wind warnings, but actually this darker brown, that's high wind watches. And more of the mustard color right here is high wind warnings. I thought it would be the opposite, but hey, I don't make the color code map or anything like that. But anyways, regardless, a bunch of winter weather advisories up for Montana. Winter storm warnings up for several counties in southern Montana and northern Wyoming, and you already have winter storm warnings up for a lot of counties in Colorado and northern New Mexico. But Colorado, Denver will certainly get close to winter storm type criteria snow here in the next couple days, here in the next 48 hours. But Storm Prediction Center, not a big threat, but there is a very small marginal risk. This is actually grown. It was much smaller than this. But Kansas City right in the middle of this. What we watch for today is a cold core setup, meaning you're lacking dynamics, thermodynamics. You're going to have a little bit of a low-level jet, put a little bit of spin to the atmosphere, and even though you're going to have temperatures that are going to be cool, not a lot of moist air at all to really work with, you're still going to be able to have a chance to produce a tornado. So there is a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. These storms will be moving quickly, but an area of kind of clustered up showers or storms could develop, and a lot of times, guys, these produce. A lot of times they're not huge, massive tornadoes by any means, but a lot of times they can produce in these kind of setups. Just a quick spin up, and you got to watch out because you never know when that quick spin up could be right over your house. So please be weather aware in this area. I know you're thinking, well, this isn't a large risk. Well, it isn't, but you never know when that risk is verified right over your real estate. So we'll talk about how the radar could look like in that area here in a second. But the southeast today, it's a beautiful day. It remains pretty quiet, but then showers and maybe some storms begin to enter the picture, begin to enter Arkansas a little bit later this morning. Some showers already have this morning, and these will continue. A thin kind of area of storms. You could have some flashes of lightning, a rumble of thunder in these storms. Right around early to mid-afternoon, Little Rock, there could be a line of showers and storms that move through your area. Same thing with Shreveport. There could be some strong winds associated with this. Strong winds out ahead of this. These will continue throughout the evening, afternoon, evening hours. Could be knocking on the door of Memphis, maybe the Paducah, Kentucky, Jackson, Tennessee areas, places like that. A little bit later this evening. And these will move through. They'll move through very quickly, last no more than an hour. Then they'll move on out, and then you'll lose the forcing as that surface low really gets pretty far north. So you don't really have any juice to the atmosphere or anything to force these storms to really develop. So some lingering showers kind of drift throughout Mississippi, Alabama overnight, and maybe kind of regenerate a little bit sometime tomorrow morning. So you might wake up to some shower activity for Birmingham tomorrow morning, and maybe Atlanta also. But then northeast, pretty quiet day. Some showers will begin to enter the picture on the western end, like into the Ohio Valley. They'll start to enter the Michigan area. This will be plain old rain for Michigan a little bit later tonight, later this evening into the overnight hours for you folks in Michigan. But you guys could be dealing with a winter storm 24 to 48 hours later with the second system as cold air sinks in, more moisture overrides, and this could actually be a pretty significant winter storm for you folks in Michigan. But this first system is just going to bring rain from Michigan, an area of rain throughout the Ohio Valley overnight tonight. And then this will kind of slash through areas of western Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, western New York State as we're getting into tomorrow morning with just leftover showers in Michigan as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Now, the south central U.S., same kind of deal. I was going to try to pull up the radar out of Dallas, but the radar's down. But you're dealing with this little thin layer of showers. And like I said, this will make its way into Arkansas about late morning, midday today. We'll see how much this kind of maintains in strength. But, if you go and look at the Storm Prediction Center, there is no real risk of severe weather, just a general risk of thunderstorms down here. So they're not expecting these showers and storms to pack a punch today, but I do think there will be some gusty winds. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop a marginal risk down here just for gusty winds, strong winds associated with this. But here we go. If you look right here, as this strong surface low, based off the HRRR monitor, you got a 982 millibar low pressure flying across the base of this trough. And as this happens, you're going to have some storms that develop. You got a cluster of storms south of Kansas City, north of Kansas City, and these could produce, and we're going to get a closer look at this here in a second, but these clusters of storm move through, could produce a quick tornado in areas of Missouri, far southeast Nebraska, eastern sections and northeast sections of Kansas, and maybe even southern sections of Iowa. We'll watch for this, and we'll get a little bit closer look at this today. You get this first push of rain that moves through all these areas that I just mentioned, Missouri, and surrounding sections of each state, and then a sector opens up right as this clears through. You got a pretty intense line of storms about to blast through areas of St. Louis, but just strong winds associated with this. No real massive severe weather threat, but you watch these little clusters of storms that develop right into here. They could produce a quick tornado, and this is around 5-6 p.m. this afternoon and this evening, and they don't look too scary, but they could produce a lot of, like I said, I know I keep saying it, but a lot of times these little setups do produce some tornadoes. So not an outbreak by any means, but definitely watch out in this area of Missouri and Kansas, Kansas City also, but Kansas, and it's just these sections right into here today. Up here in the north central U.S., moisture will move in. They'll surge and blast into areas of Iowa and in southern Minnesota a little bit later today. Same thing with eastern Nebraska. This will continue to make its way through, will become widespread in Wisconsin. This is just good old-fashioned rainstorm that moves through this afternoon for these areas. Normally this time of the year, even for mid-February, you're typically seeing snow, but with this track of this surface low that blasts right through these areas, it brings a lot of warm air aloft and then warm air to the surface. So, this is moving through. This is all just a bunch of heavy rain for you guys this evening, but cold air is moving in. at the same time this system's flying in. And then the backside of this with an intensifying or maintaining low pressure, it's a pretty strong low pressure. And you see how close these isobars are together? That is strong winds. The closer these little lines you see together, the more strong winds you have at the surface. So it's snowing, and not a ton of snow. It's a quick moving snow event. But overnight, blizzard conditions can and will develop in areas of western Minnesota, southeastern sections of North Dakota, and then eastern sections of South Dakota. And these will last for a several-hour period. And then all your rain will probably switch to snow for a good section of Minnesota into the wee hours of the morning, into the morning hours. And you might have a period of snow for you folks even as far south as Minneapolis as you're waking up tomorrow morning. And then a period of snow that kind of moves through northern Wisconsin into areas of the UP and Michigan. So this will move through, and then our next system turns around and loads up. So we'll watch for this rain from this system. This is just now between the next 24 hours. So a lot of areas see appreciable rainfall. You're not going to get by any means flooding rains or anything like that. But, you go up into Minnesota near Minneapolis, you can get an inch of rain today. This is going to be an all-out rainstorm developing this afternoon, this evening for you areas up here in the northern sections of the Midwest and north central U.S. But there is a snowy side to this, but not a whole lot. Okay, just, general 2 to 4 inches of snow. But remember, blizzard criteria is not defined by feet of snow. It's how long can you sustain a certain mile-per-hour winds. I believe it's 35 miles per hour for a 3-hour period, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm doing that on the fly. I should have that memorized, but guys, I keep it real. I don't pretend like I know everything and have everything memorized. But it's not defined by heavy snow and snowfall accumulation. It's really the winds. Okay, you can have blizzard warnings and no snow falling. We call that a ground blizzard. But watch out in these areas today. A lot of blowing snow blowing around. And as the surface low kicks off, you're going to have a couple areas of strong winds. One will develop here in the next hour or two. Winds will really pick up here in the panhandle of Texas and northwest sections of Texas. And I'm talking, around Amarillo and points south down to Lubbock, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts developing here in the next couple hours. This will blast through as the surface low ejects out the west and starts to move northward in general. Area winds this afternoon will start moving through Oklahoma, moving into Arkansas, Missouri. These will blast through. You got an area right here. If you see these strong winds around 4 or 5 p.m. this afternoon, moving through Memphis, western Tennessee, all these sections right here, this is associated with a thin line of storms that I was just mentioning earlier in the video. So you'll have some strong winds associated with that. So, and this extends all the way up into Iowa. So this is this afternoon. Just widespread 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts. We saw this a few days ago, and this will move into areas of the Ohio Valley. I don't think it'll be as bad in the Ohio Valley as it was with that system, last week. But, you're getting into the overnight hours. Strong winds begin to develop with snow falling up here in the eastern Dakotas and then western Minnesota, where you could have 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts up here. But, it's not going to last for a super long period of time. You'll be waking up in Minnesota, Minneapolis, Wisconsin, all the way down to Chicago with periodic 30 to 40, 45 mile per hour wind gusts. So it's going to be blowing around with this strong surface low. So please be careful with that. Storm Prediction Center, guys, not much has changed. Now, chances are, by the time you guys watch this video a little bit later, this might change, but you still have a slight risk of severe storms up, but it's a pretty large area. This extends now, all the way west of Dallas, all the way up to southwest sections of Kentucky, and all the way down to, southern sections of Louisiana. So this is a pretty large slight risk. There's a pretty large tornado risk, but it's not a high tornado risk, a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles on any given location. We'll dive deeper into this tonight. There will be a wind threat with this too, that 15% risk. So, and even with the threat Thursday, just a huge slight risk. Nothing has changed. You can tell that confidence has not changed one way or the other. They have just kind of kept things about the same. But I would be willing to bet an enhanced risk gets dropped today, or for tomorrow. At some point, we'll have to watch. So, we'll try to figure this out for you guys. By the time we get into this evening, we'll be well deep into the short range model guidance, so we can really dissect exactly, we'll figure out to a degree what exactly is going to happen with the storm mode and how these storms can develop a little bit later this evening into the overnight hours. Well, I'm sorry, later tomorrow evening into the overnight hours. So we'll try to figure this out for you guys. You guys have an awesome day. I'll be with you guys later this evening. God bless all y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon.